What you are about to hear is a parallel universe presented by myself and Rob Hughes, recorded in 2011. And as a result, some things may have changed in the interim, and some of the main players are sadly no longer with us. Despite that, we hope you enjoy it.
You are now entering the parallel universe.
And wipe your feet on the way in.
Marc Riley, BBC Six Music.
I think I'm right in saying recorded for the John Peel programme, that version there of Going Through the Motions from the Prefects, who are one of the great bands, absolutely. And looking here, Bob, hello mate.
Hello mate.
We've got Things in General, Escort Girls, Agony Column, The Bristol Road Leads to Dachau, Faults, Barbarella's. Oh, you know, I mean, I remember all of those tunes, and I remember listening to them as he played them live at various venues when I used to go and see him. What a really, truly great band. So that's the Prefects, led by Robert Lloyd, who obviously now, and then, just shortly afterwards, led the Nightingales.
Yeah.
We played the Nightingales tonight. No big deal, is it?
Not at all, no. Not at all.
Not at all. And so we are in the parallel universe, aren't we, Bob?
We are, yeah. We're looking at the NME from 5th of July 1980. The Stranglers in the news here. It says the British tour is going to go ahead next week on schedule, and it's likely that more dates will be added to those already announced. So the tour was salvaged last Friday when the three members who'd been in a French jail for almost a week on a charge of inciting violence were released. The first two unconditionally, and Jean-Jacques Bonnel on bail of 100,000 francs. This was supposedly about a fairly well-known gig, notorious gig they did at Nice University, and some, it says here, ambivalent comments were said from the stage, and then the students just tore the place up, and it went absolutely crazy.
Why? What was said? I mean, you know...
Doesn't say.
Oh,
I've
really?
not really been able to find out, but I don't know whether it's like cross-purposes, cross-translations going on there,
Right,
or whatever.
I mean, Jean-Jacques Bonnel, he was French, wasn't he?
He was, yes.
You think there'd be some kindred spirits in there, wouldn't you?
Well, you would think so, wouldn't you?
Maybe.
It says here, though, the prosecution pulled out all the usual strokes in court. They even raised the age-old issue of Jean-Jacques' national service in France, but fortunately didn't have the documents to prove it.
Oh, right.
Apparently they also contacted Interpol to get details of the band's record in other countries, but the telex didn't come through and they completely bungled it. Oh, it's not very good for Interpol.
Well, I mean, they had a few scrapes with a few different people, and journalists, didn't they kidnap a journalist and tie him naked at the back of the stage or something?
They did a few things. I know there was one story, famous story, about them masking taping a journalist to I think it was to the Eiffel Tower, probably on this same tour.
Right,
leaving
okay.
them there for quite some time.
Making friends everywhere they go.
Absolutely. And Malcolm McLaren says here, emerges from hibernation this week as the mentor of a new four-piece outfit called Bow Wow Wow.
Right.
The first band he's managed since the Sex Pistols, and he's pulled off something of a scoop, it says, by signing them to a long-term 55,000 deal with EMI, the company which, of course, dispensed with the Pistols and all that kind of lark. The first single is C30, C60, C90 Go, wasn't it? Which was kind of an advocation of home taping.
It most certainly was, and the story was, wasn't it, that Malcolm McLaren was walking past a laundrette and saw Annabella Lewin in it and thought,
right.
well, she looks great, don't care whether she can sing or not, and she could sing.
And she could sing, yeah. She's identified only here as a 14-year-old Burmese girl named Best Man, who, as you say, he discovered in the local laundrette.
Right.
And then it goes on to kind of quote the lyrics. But the strange thing is that EMI were part of the BPI, the British Phonograph Institute, and of course, you know, they were seen to be advocating home taping, when of course the BPI was so adamant that home taping was illegal.
Was killing music.
Oh, that's right. I remember the ads. Here's a bit of a shocker. The Lambrettas says I've run into trouble over their new single, which Rocket had planned as being called Page 3 from their debut album. Now they've been served with a writ on behalf of the Sun newspaper, right, who object to the lyrical content of the song,
really,
claiming it gives an undesirable image of the sun. Pot, kettle, black,
well, that's not an argument I want to get involved with, Bob.
No, it isn't, Mark. You stayed clear of that very, very, very diplomatically.
Where's that fence? I'm sat on something a bit like a fence anyway.
Amazing what hit single does, isn't it? Dexys had a huge #1 with Gino.
Right.
So, of course, Gino Washington gets a new band together and comes over, does some dates in the UK. Nothing wrong with that, of course.
No,
why not?
Good on him.
Meanwhile, his ex-band, the Ram Jam Band, have suddenly reformed, and they're doing dates as well all over the shop.
No,
hey. You know, never went away, did it? The whole reunion business.
No, Big Audio Dynamite have just got back together.
Yeah, I can't wait.
Yeah,
here's the original lineup, I believe.
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah. Also, you'll be thrilled, particularly, to hear that from the ashes of the, well, quite literally, of the Lynyrd Skynyrd band, the Rossington Collins Band,
right,
have come out. Who were nothing as great as That Smell, you know, in their repertoire, but, you know, a decent hard rocking band.
There is very little as good as That Smell.
No.
I mean, if people don't know what we're talking about, it's a song called
That Smell, yeah,
by Lynyrd Skynyrd.
By Lynyrd Skynyrd, yeah.
Ooh, that smell.
Oh, please. Oh, he sent me into raptures.
Well, we should be playing that.
And also, Dave Cousins of the Strawbs, unfortunately, it says here, is retiring from music altogether.
Oh, what, due to popular demand?
Oh, Mark, I'm sitting on the fence on that
I'm
one.
a cheeky boy.
Now, the first band to ever top the new-styled indie charts in 1980 was, Spiz Energy, which became Atletico Spiz 80, wasn't it?
Which became loads of things, didn't it?
It did, yes. So, any excuse, really, to play Where's Captain Kirk?
Okay. Now that would be Spiz and Where's Captain Kirk. Mark Riley, Rob Hughes, Parallel Universe.
Yeah, a bit of class that. Look at the NME from July 1980. Paul Morley does a very interesting and slightly awkward interview with Peter Gabriel at this point, who's recently gone solo, and some suitably moody pictures as well by Anton Corbijn to go with it. There's loads of kind of awkward pauses during the interview.
He's a very reticent kind of character, isn't he, at that point in time?
And a very kind of deep thinking. Always comes across as a deep thinking character, very intense at the same time.
Yeah.
I think Paul Morley's trying to ask him these particularly searching questions, and I think Peter Gabriel, by the sound of it, from what I've read anyway, seems a very shy character at the same time. So he has all these kind of conflicting things going on about being a star, I think.
Well, he's one of the few people that I really, really admire and grew up listening to that I've never met. He was stood about, I don't know, maybe 12 feet away from me talking to the guy who was producing the TV for Glastonbury when I was there one year.
Oh, yeah.
And I thought, that's Peter Gabriel. Should I go and say hello? And I just couldn't bring myself to do it. No, starstruck completely. I mean, I'm a massive fan of his anyway.
Yeah. Well, at this point, you might not have expected him to be top of the LP charts with what became, I think, Gabriel 3, which is the cover that's got his face melting on the front.
I think they call it Melt. We've been through this before.
Melt,
they call the album, because they're all called Peter Gabriel, that would be Melt. And the other one with the scratches on is called Scratch.
Yeah.
I think that's right. Something like that.
No, you're right. He says, yes, this album has sort of landed in the middle of the road, hums Gabriel. I didn't expect it. I didn't really know what to expect. I think it's better music than I've ever made. And he suddenly found himself top of the charts and was finding it difficult, I think, to cope with it all.
Well, this is the album with Games Without Frontiers on.
That's right, yeah. I mean, that was obviously the big hit from it.
Absolutely.
I think
quite
Paul
right.
Weller's on there, Kate Bush is on there, Robert Fripp's on there.
Paul Weller's on it?
He's on there, yes. Oh, what's the tune now?
Really?
I know it, yeah, if you said it, I'd know it.
Right, okay. I don't know.
Through the Wire, I think it's called. He's on.
Right, okay.
Yeah, he plays guitar on that.
And Through the Wire? Well, I didn't know that.
That's right, okay. I mean, you saw Gabriel a few times, didn't you, when he went solo?
I did. I saw him on his first tour twice. I saw him at the Apollo in Manchester, and I was on the front row. And I have told a story, but quickly, me and Craig Scanlon, who both ended up in the four, we went down to the Apollo on the Friday night after school to go and queue up overnight for tickets, and they were just shutting the box office, and the bloke went, "What are you doing? You don't need to do that." So he sold us the tickets on the Friday night, shut up shop, and we were walking back through Hardwick. We went to school in Hardwick anyway, on our way to town to have a celebratory pint. And we see a load of mates coming the other way who were just going with sleeping bags and all that kind of stuff to queue up overnight, which of course they had to do because it was then shut. And the other one was I went to see him in London, and I pretended to be a roadie during the sound check, and I walked in and I stood on the stage and somebody tapped me on the shoulder and politely asked me to move just 2 feet that way, and it was Robert Fripp who was trying to communicate with the sound man.
Very good though. I
mean, if it was Lynyrd Skynyrd, I probably would have got a hit over the back of the head with a bottle of Jack Daniels.
Absolutely, yeah, and punched in the face, no doubt. At one point during this interview, Paul Morley finds it very difficult looking straight into Peter Gabriel's eyes, so he finds him staring at his socks, and he says, "They're really nice sheer black nylon they are with little stripes on them." Oh, how nice! Yeah,
attention to detail.
Yeah, absolutely. And then Gabriel goes on to talk about how when he'd like to kind of sit at the piano for hours, he says, and kind of scream, or as a kind of emotional release, which is one of the main attractions of rock music for me. I suppose like an emotional.
It's a strange place he was in, I mean, you know, having been through all the Genesis thing, and they were getting really big. Sold out 2 nights at the Palace, which doesn't seem that big now. It only holds about 2,000, but you know, the tickets were really, really rare. But he packed it all in, as we know, for various reasons. Yeah. Partially his family life, I think. But I remember watching afternoon TV once. I was in the fall at the time, and he just came on an afternoon chat programme with this, I can't even remember the woman's name, and he did 2 tunes and did an interview with her, and he just seemed really bizarre. It was like almost him being on This Morning.
Yeah,
it was that
kind of thing.
Yeah, and he was never on TV at that point in time.
No,
it just seemed really bizarre.
It is bizarre. Should we have a bit of Gabe after all that wafflage?
Might as well. And I am the bloke who's just got out of bed at 3 o'clock in the morning with a crowbar. Watch what you're doing.
Oh, that's
better. So, Peter Gabriel and Intruder.
Yes, look at the NME from July 1980. I would just like to point out, by the way, before, of course, the BPI stands for the British Phonograph Industry, not Institute. I was getting mixed up with the Orton Institute. I mean, my dad goes for a game of cards and a pint on a Friday night.
Well, it's a similar thing, isn't it? And I'll tell you what, I bet even half the people who work for the BPI don't know what the I stands for. It doesn't matter. We know what they do, and we're glad they're there.
Oh, absolutely, Mark. Now then, I've always thought there's never been enough rock stars cookbooks going out, but Peter Frampton's ex, Mary, has a new book out, it says here, called Mary Frampton and Friends Rock and Roll Recipes.
Right.
Because she was very conscious on the road with Frampton of him not eating a load of rubbish junk food, so therefore made him some nutritious meals.
Well, there's an opportunity and a gap in the market.
Yes.
I wonder if she made him suck up soup through that thing that he had on his,
Possibly.
Yeah, he should have done. Maybe that's what he was doing. Maybe he was having some snide soup halfway through Show Me the Way rather than...
That would explain a lot, wouldn't it, really?
It would.
Yeah. Apparently it all started when she wrote to Ringo, one of her closest friends, asking for his favourite recipe. He replied, travel to your local fish and chip shop and ask for cod and chips. Oh, it's a start, I suppose.
Yeah.
She does reveal various things about people's appetites, including Eric Clapton has a preference for Paradise Chews, whatever they are. Paul Butterfield, like Happy Chicken, and the Gibb brothers from, the Bee Gees, like good old Yorkshire pudding.
Paul Butterfield, Happy Chicken?
Yeah, I don't know what
How many chickens are that happy to have the neck wrung and...
Well, unless they just don't know about it, you come up from behind and wring their neck. I'm not getting into that debate, Mark.
It's the moral maze covers all that on Radio
completely.
4. We need to leave that alone.
Ron Wood says here has 3 out of... He says he just kind of forks out 3 or 4 passion fruits, skins them, takes the pulp out and drinks it.
Right, sounds good. Nice and healthy.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, more with him.
Yeah, the other thing, this is a bit of a shocker. According to Dr. John Diamond, who's a former professor of psychiatry at Mount Sinai Hospital in New York,
right,
he says some of the rhythms used in popular music can interrupt the heartbeat and weaken it. So the beat in question is the dit-dit-dar beat.
Oh, I hate that dit-dit-dar beat.
The one that came into prominence with the Supremes in 1965, it says here. That's really, really bad for your health.
I'd prefer the bottom.
No, that's all right for your heart, that.
Of course it is.
Yeah, it goes down the other side, I think.
Definitely.
But the bands that he cites who are perhaps the worst for your health are the Supremes, Wings, Rolling Stones and the Bee Gees.
Yeah, the Rolling Stones, I would have thought so, definitely.
Yeah, without doubt. Also, Max Bell does a report from the YMCA on Echo and the Bunnymen, supported by the Frantic Elevators at this point. The Bunnymen only just started playing live gigs.
All believable. Right, okay, so we're going to go for that now, Bob?
I think so, yeah.
All right, well, thank you very much, Bob, and also to, retrospectively, Jeffrey and Peter and Frantic and Dave and to Shush and to Shelley and Peter and to Michael, and we'll leave you with this, and Gid is next. Ta-ta!
Prepare to exit the parallel universe.
Mark Riley, BBC 6 Music.
And shut the door on your way out.